Hey guys, welcome to the Usman Developer channel. In this video we will be focusing on functions, what they are, why do we need them, and lots of examples of how to create functions using the Kotlin programming language. What I've got in front of me is a Kotlin REPL window, and it allows you to write any Kotlin that you pretty much want, and it will basically just print out onto the kind of console what the value is, or what the outcome is, shall we say, of the code that you're writing. It's a really good playground. It's a really good place for you to practice. So the way you can bring it up is if you go to Android Studio, click on Tools, and then Kotlin, and then just click on REPL, and you will get this window. So you'll be all set to follow me. Okay, so let's jump straight in. So yeah, we are going to be talking about functions. So let's first and foremost talk about the name. In Kotlin, these are referred to as functions, but sometimes people refer to them as methods. So in Java, I remember when I was working on a few projects with some of my colleagues, and they were training me up, they would refer to the functions that we know now as methods. People kind of use both depending on which project or which developer you're working with. They may refer to these as functions or methods, basically. But for this video, we'll refer to them as functions. So, what does a function look like, first and foremost, right? Well, actually, let's talk about why you would need a function. So, a function essentially is a group of code. It just groups your code and it isolates it within one container, if you like. And you may say, well, a class does that. Another thing is, a class does group code together, of course, but a class can have multiple functions. Okay, so imagine you've got a class called, for example, like login, user login executor or something. Just imagine there's a class and it kind of logs a person. It logs a user in. Okay, fine. Inside that class, we can have one function which would like verify the username and password. Right? That's one specific method that does that. You can have a different method that checks if, well, actually verify if the username and password are valid. Okay, that's the first check. Another check can be check if the user already exists. Okay, and if it basically passes the first step and the second step, then we can pretty much go ahead and log the person in. Whoopee. Now, I'm sure there's going to be many more steps when it comes to logging somebody in, whether you're on a website or a mobile application. The point of just this, the example that I'm giving here is just to demonstrate that you can wrap code in functions that will perform different tasks, and you isolate these into different functions. Imagine if you had one huge function that just did everything and it was very sequential. It would be hard to implement, it would be hard to fix, it would be hard to debug, it would be hard to add features onto it, it would be hard to take things away from it. So it's really nice when you have code which is nicely separated. Yeah, so imagine you're in a car, the steering wheel is responsible for steering, the clutch and the brake and the accelerator have got their own jobs. It's nicely separated. You can use this analogy in other aspects of programming as well, like clean code and other things, but we won't go too deep just yet. We'll focus just on functions for now. Okay. So yeah, in a nutshell, it allows you to separate code. It allows you to group code together. And you can have many functions in a class. Cool. Let's see what a function now looks like. So first and foremost in Kotlin, a function is referred to, or rather it starts off with the word fun, which is funny, but yeah, there you go. You start off with the word fun, and then you type the actual name of the function. So let's just say that our function that we're going to create here is called add two numbers, for example. Okay, so that's the name of the function. Open and close parentheses. Okay, so these are called parentheses. We'll cover what you can do with these soon. And then open and close the curly braces. Okay, so this is the body of the function. The code that exists in the function goes in between these two curly braces. Okay, so if I continue and create more, if I say subtract two numbers, okay, so that's another one. Fun multiply two numbers. We'll keep it as that for now. Just three simple functions. So we've got three functions, but they're not really doing much at the moment, and that's fine. Let's go ahead and create some create a variable called val added equals add two numbers. So what we've done here is we have created a variable that's a constant. Val basically means that it will not change. Okay, it's immutable. Once the value of this variable has been assigned, it will never change again. Okay, so if I call add two numbers, if that returns the number 20 or 30 or whatever it is, and then that number goes inside this variable, we can't then change the variable to something else. We can't reassign it. We can't give it another value because we've given it the keyword val. If we give it the keyword var, then that can be changed. It's immutable. Cool. Okay. Why that is the case, we'll hopefully cover that in a separate video. But for now, it's good to have val so that we have got confidence that once I assign this value or this variable, once it's been given a value, it will not change again. Okay, so let's think of two numbers to send to the add two numbers function. So 10, 5. So we expect 15. So this won't work at the moment. If I was to run this, it won't really do anything, and that's because add two numbers doesn't actually take at the moment any parameters. Okay, so if I was to kind of clear that and then go back over here, I have to put in the actual signature of the function. So I've got to create a nice signature for it. So the add two numbers takes in a first number, which is of type integer, and a second number, which is also of type integer. So now we are able to pass 10 and 5. Okay, so when I execute this function, I pass 10 and I pass 5, and inside here I can simply say return first number plus second number. Cool. There's one more step. Although we are saying that we are returning the sum of these two numbers, we're not really saying that this function actually returns anything. So for me to do that, I need to put a colon and then the word int, or the keyword int. And what this means is that this is a function called add two numbers. It takes in a value which is an integer, takes in another one which is also an integer, and it will return an integer, which is exactly what this is doing. I'm returning the sum of these two numbers. So now if I come back over here and if I say print line added and then run the code, you'll see that I get the value 15. Okay. Now if I clear this, so this works so far, which is great. In Kotlin I can do something quite cool, which is to make this just one line. So I removed the curly braces and I just said that this function, it equals to this expression, first number plus second number. That's also perfectly fine in Kotlin. In Java you had to specify the curly braces, although that may have changed in later versions of Java, maybe, I'm not sure. Okay, so now we're able to add two numbers. Let's focus on subtract two numbers. Okay, val subtracted equals subtract two numbers, and we're going to pass the value 10 and then the value 5. Exactly the same as the previous example. Now, just like before, this is not really going to work because we're passing two arguments to the subtract two numbers, but this doesn't actually it doesn't accept any parameters. It doesn't take anything in the actual parameters in the signature. There's no arguments. So again, we just have first number, which is of type integer, and second number, which is also of type integer, and then we return an integer. And then we simply say return first number minus second number. Okay, and then over here we say print line subtracted. Now it should give us the value 5, of course, which it does. The reason why it says 155 is because it's 15 for the first value that we got, and then it's 5 for the subtracted. But hopefully you understand the concept. It's basically performing the print for this one and then another one for this one. I wonder if I can do this though. If I just do this and then just do print line, then put the new line key in and then run it. Okay, yeah, that's much better. So I'm just printing out a new line and then I'm separating these. Okie dokie. Let's go over to multiply two numbers finally. So I'm going to create another variable which is immutable. Multiplied equals multiply two numbers, and you can see Android Studio is telling me, is that the function that you want to use? Yes, it is. And you can see that it doesn't really take any parameters and it returns a unit. A unit basically is void in Java, right? It's just saying I'm not going to return anything. If you call me, I am not going to give you anything back. Probably because you're not giving me anything, right? So add two numbers, and we're gonna do 2, 2. If it will catch up with me, yes, it eventually will. So same thing here. First number, which is of type integer. Second number, which is of type integer, and I will return an int. Return, you guessed it, first number multiply by the second number. And I think that should be pretty much it for that. All I have to do now is print out the new line, and then I do another print line and I print out the multiplied value. Let's run that. Oh, it was on a. I had to scroll down. Whew. Thought I did it wrong there. Okay. So to recap, we called the first function, which was add two numbers. Then we called subtract two numbers, and then multiply two numbers. We print out onto the console what the values are, and that's pretty much it.